Davelyn Tardi Reyes, Public Relations Director at Discover Puerto Rico, talks to host Doug Simon on PR's Top Pros Talk.
Davelyn, what do you see as the biggest change in the media landscape for a travel destination?
Yeah, right now, I think there are a few challenges, but the first one is that obviously media outlets are smaller than ever. So you don't have a lot of writers to go to the destination and experience what you have to offer. So destinations needs to be more authentic than never and being very intentional with those media pitch that you're working on. It's not only selling the destination and promoting the destination. You need to go beyond that. You need to present the stories. You need to be very creative to catch the attention of that writer that probably has never been on the destination. So how do you connect with them in a way that they can translate that on that story? So if you ask me, the biggest challenge right now is being creative and authentic.
In your role at Discover Puerto Rico, what are some strategies that you're using to address that? I'm sure it's a very common question being asked at many destination promotion organizations.
Yeah, so Discover Puerto Rico is the destination marketing organization of the island. So we are in charge of all the promotional and marketing efforts for the destination. And one of the strategies that we have been using is create a very intentional press trips strategy. As you may know, Puerto Rico has a lot of misconceptions, and we have been dealing with that directly with the writers. And the best way to manage that is bringing them to the island through different angles. Every year, we develop a strategy with more than 10 to 15 media angles, from coffee culture to gastronomy to history to architecture. And it's just trying to see how can we present the destination in a very different way, bringing those writers here and connecting them directly with the local communities. So the local communities can actually share their stories, and that stories can inspire travelers, but also media. And I think at some point in the travel segment, we have been subestimating the power of press trips. And I think it's one of the biggest tactics that we have as a destination to ensure that we are communicating those experiences.
Yeah, and I think it is interesting that you're putting so much effort into connecting these writers, reporters, journalists with local people in the community. That takes a lot of legwork and effort to do that the first time.
Definitely. It's not only create a strategy, it's also creating a strategy where you can educate those local communities and make sure that they understand your work, but also that they can communicate that effectively. Puerto Rico is a mix of culture. We are a very diverse destination. And translate that into words, it's really complicated. It's something that you need to get immersed, that you need to come here to understand and to appreciate that. And that's why we're trying to be very intentional. We are not bringing every single media. We are being very selective. We want people that actually come to the island, respect our communities, and also make sure that they can understand the history. They can get educated about that. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And so you're doing a great job. It sounds like of really digging deep to identify your own stories that bring the color and life and liveliness of the destination. But you also want the messages to be targeted to those who are receiving it. So how are you going about doing that? What are some of the approaches you're taking to make sure that your message is targeted to the right person?
Right now, we have an approach to target that conscious traveler. Is a traveler that actually wants to learn more about the destination. They want to come to the island. They want to appreciate the culture. They want to connect with local communities. And those travelers do not consume every single media outlet, neither every social channel. So we're very specific with the niches that we identify and those media outlets that we want to connect. Of course, you always need to connect with those top tier outlets, but we cannot forget those niche magazines, those regional publications that actually reach a very specific audience that maybe you want to inspire to come to the island. I think another important thing that we have been doing is inserting the brand into lifestyle brands. We're partnering with brands that are already established, that has a very decent database and audience. And we're trying to connect them with what Puerto Rico has to offer. Most recently, last year on July, we celebrated the 7th anniversary of Piña Colada. And we were looking for ways to present the story in a different way. And we partnered with Ban Luis, the ice cream. And when you think about it, it's like, why you partner with Ban Luis? And it's like, no, we're going to develop a special recipe inspiring Piña Colada. And what we did was that we integrate a local mixologist who created the recipe and a local artist that create the packaging. And that was the way to tell the story. We went to New York. We offered free spoons for the people so they can get inspired and know that Puerto Rico is the birthplace of the piña colada. And those are the type of partnerships that we are following, that we are creating, and that are part of niche markets that we want to really leverage our message.
When you're changing strategies and approaches, you have to really take a close look each step of the way to make sure you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think definitely being transparent. You need to acknowledge problems. You need to educate travelers. You need to share accurate information. In Puerto Rico, as you may know, we are in the Caribbean. We receive hurricanes. So we have protocols, we have crisis plans that we need to activate every single time and to refresh that. And you need to connect with the travelers and say the truth every single time. At the end of the day, if they come, they can affect the communities or they can either impact in a positive way. So it's your role to make sure that you are leveraging that. And as you mentioned, one of the lessons, I think it has been always being connected with the communities. Understand what is happening in order for you to develop a strategy and communicate effectively. You cannot forget communities. You cannot forget to connect with the locals and understand what is happening on your destination before you put together your strategy.
Yeah, and one other interesting skill set, obviously, you can be a very persuasive person, but convincing the people who are providing the budget that this strategy makes sense and the change makes sense. That's difficult to do. How do you go about that, being persuasive to get them to say, we need a new direction, this is what we're thinking, and get that buy-in? I imagine it was a longer conversation than just that.
Local and national media, I think that's key, right? And that helps you to understand the context of what you want to present. I think one of the biggest things that we always take into consideration is understand how many local businesses we have been impacting on that activation specifically. For example, when we did the Ban Luis partnership, we were make sure that we activate and we integrate local artists, local businesses. And those businesses were amplified through our social channel. And that's why we can demonstrate our value as PRs, but also our value in our after those media activations are executed. Because at the end of the day, in that activation, the ice cream went sold out in 2 weeks after the launch. That's the power of PR. And that's why I think we always need to be sure to integrate representation from the destination in every single effort that you do in public relations.
Thank you for really showcasing the value of what PR can bring and sharing the great advice that you have. We really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.